as part of our family practice and PIM workshops that we've been running on a pretty much a monthly basis over the last few years. Just a couple of updates from me. The first one is that the next family practice webinar will be on the 8th of October, and that is going to be around the supervision and reflective toolkit that Vicky and I have been working on very hard over the last few months, alongside some local home starts, to put together the first level of this toolkit. I really hope that you're going to find it super helpful in your family practice in each of your local home starts. It will be launched, so the actual links to it all over the coming days. We're thinking Friday, but at the latest it will be early next week. So the next family practice on the October the 8th. Please do come along to that if you want to discuss and think about how you might bring it into your local home start. The other date that I wanted to remind you all of is that the next safeguarding forum at the end of this month, on the 30th of September, we will be looking at supporting young parents. And Vicky will be leading that, and we will also be showing you guidance that we have been developing, particularly around supporting teenage parents, because there's that real difficulty in safeguarding terms of the fact of the age of a parent defines them as a child. And we'll look at that also, we'll be looking at that from different nations, because it's slightly different across our 4 nations. So that's the 30th of September. I think Vicky's put in the sign-ups there for you. So that's the announcements that I wanted to give. And before I hand over to Kieran, I'd just like to say from a personal point of view that I've been supporting Kieran since he joined Homestart UK as this sort of secondment period, and been managing him and helping him to develop the project. I'm sure you've all read a lot around it. So it's with a real pleasure that I introduce Kieran. There'll be lots of time for questions and answers. If you've got any questions as Kieran goes through, then please do put them in the chat so that we don't lose them, and ensure that we do answer them at the end. I think that's probably everything. We will be recording this session, as we always do, so that we can put it onto our video library for those that may want to look back at this webinar. Great. I will hand over to you, I think, Kieran. Thank you.
Thank you for coming. It's really, really exciting to be able to present to the Homestart Network about Dad Matters. It's been 8 years, and a lot of work, but also a lot of pleasure, learning, development to get to this point. So I'm really glad that you're all here to hear it. I'm going to share my screen because there's quite a few slides that have got information on. You will be able to watch them back on the video. Hopefully that will be working for everyone. Alex, is it working for you? Perfect. So I'm not the logo. I look a bit like it. It was never the intention. Please don't hold me to that account. There is a Dad Matters coordinator in St Helens who looks more like the logo than I do. So we're going to give him the credit for it. So today we're going to talk about, Alex has already done her bits. We're going to talk about the journey of Dad Matters, of where it came from, what it is. We're going to talk about the impact that we've had over the last 8 years. We're going to let you guys have a bit of a group discussion in breakout rooms, just to think about how father inclusive your home start is. Not necessarily about Dad Matters, but more about how you engage with dads, how dads see your services and how you reach them. And we'll do some feedback on that. And then we're going to talk about where we're up to now. So the transition for Dad Matters from Homestart Host in Greater Manchester to Homestart UK, about the brand and how that's developed, about some of the new images that we've got that we're sharing with the network of dads, not just for Dad Matters, but for the network in general. We're going to talk about the new website, and we're going to talk about the toolkit that we're developing at Homestart UK to help local home starts to develop their own Dad Mats projects. We'll also talk about what's next for the Dad Mats project, both nationally and locally for you guys, and then we'll have Q&A at the end, and we should have plenty of time to answer all of your questions. Does that sound okay to everybody? Amazing. I saw some people nod. So I'm Kieran. I'm the Dad Matters lead within the practice development team at Homestart UK. Previously, I was the Dad Matters operations manager at Homestart Host, and also the Dad Matters lead there and the Dad Matters coordinator there. And before that, the Dad champion there was the first job title that I had. Dad Matters is a locally led home start service supporting dads to have better relationships with their babies. We are a baby service and we are dad facing. If you think about us in that way, it will really help you to get your head around everything that we do. Babies need that loving relationship with their dads, and often dads don't get access to the right support, information, education to be able to form that bond with their baby. That bond with their baby also is protective, and it can help their mental health. It can help with their relationships with other people around them, like mum, partners, professionals. And so, if we concentrate on the baby in the center of this relationship and support dads with all the things he needs to be able to build that relationship, then we're doing a really good job. In 2017, Homestart Host, who originally were Oldham, Stockport, and Tameside, but have since moved into Bolton and some other places. So they are now just Host. They're based in Greater Manchester, one of the bigger local home starts. They were working with the Early Attachment Service, which is a parent-infant service in Tameside, on a parent-infant mental health project in 2017. The outcomes that they were getting there were really, really good. One of the biggest gaps was dads. They didn't really see dads in the service. They didn't engage with dads in any of the universal engagements, and they really wanted to learn about how they could do better with that. So they worked with the Anna Freud Centre to evaluate the pilot and got funding from the Health Foundation for an innovation project to really learn about where dads are, how they interact, what they need to know, and how we can support them to have better relationships with their babies. Over the last 8 and a bit years, nearly 9 years, Dad Matters has grown quite naturally. We manualized Dad Matters in about 2019, and we shared it with a couple of other home starts, including Gloucestershire and Salford and Warrington. And now we have around 23 other areas in the UK, around 28 home starts involved in delivering Dad Matters in different areas with different, slightly different models to suit their localities. So the Dad Matters model has three core activities: universal outreach, professional engagement, and one-to-one peer support. I'll talk about each one so you can get a bit more of an idea of what they are. Universal outreach is all about seeing dads where they're at, where they think about themselves as a dad. So not gym foyers, not football stadiums. We're talking antenatal scans, mother and baby units, neonatal units, antenatal classes, specialist clinics, birth registrations, dads groups, all of those sorts of places where we're going to go there. The dads are already there. We're going to speak to them about what we do. In that conversation with that dad, it might be a 5-minute conversation. We're going to ask three things. We're going to ask about them, how they are. We're going to be really curious about their answer to that question. We're really going to delve into it a little bit, and we're going to be very direct about how we do it. The second thing we're going to do is give them resources. So we're going to use signposting. We're going to have flyers that are educational rather than trying to get them into a support service. We want them to understand how to get to know their baby, how to look out for their mental health. And then the third thing we want to do is bring the baby into the conversation. The earlier we can do that, the better that dad, better chance that dad has of building that attachment with the baby. So even during pregnancy, when dads can think about babies as an individual person, as part of their family, they're much more likely to have a better relationship. So that might be talking about where they're up to on their journey, asking them about their relationship with their baby or their partner. It could be telling dads things like hormonal changes in men when their partners are pregnant and when they have a baby, and how that might affect their mood or affect their behavior, and absolutely how it affects their fathering. The next thing we want to do is professional engagement. That looks like training. So we have training packages for professionals that we deliver in our localities, but we also do shortened versions of that for lunch and learns, team meetings, conferences, where we really help professionals to understand what dads want, how to communicate with them, where to signpost them to, and in particular, what the referral process to Dad Matters looks like, and what we will do for those dads that they refer in. These professionals are any professional working in the perinatal period, but specifically, we want parent infant mental health services, perinatal mental health services, maternity, health visiting, family hubs, early help, and any kind of early years professionals that are working with families. We might also work with social care or family support, and definitely we want to be working with Home Start staff and volunteers. That professional engagement is really important because professionals are more likely to refer dads in than self-referrals. So we need to make sure they understand what the dad will get from us, how the referral will look, and also how to sell the referral to the dad, not just have dads buy in because he just wants her to stop talking at him. We really want them to understand what we want the dad to understand what the referral will look like and how it will work and what he will get from it, in particular focusing on the benefits for his baby, for his partner, because they're the focuses that many dads have and one of the reasons that they avoid services in the first place. And then finally, we have our one-to-one peer support. This is facilitated by our coordinators rather than volunteers, as would happen in Home Start. And I'll talk about the volunteer offer in a second. So our coordinators will they'll text, they'll phone. They often do a lot of referral work over the phone. Dads prefer that method, but we'll encourage dads to meet up, to do home visits, to do community visits, and really try to see the dads with the babies as well at some point because that's a really important part of that offer. But often dads want to keep that support away from the family, so they might avoid home visits and prefer phone calls. They will do phone calls during their lunch hours or on the commute home, or they'll take time, 10 minutes out of work to have a quick chat with you. And it's really about testing where that dad is in that referral. We also like to measure impact. So we have a couple of outcomes measures that we use, one around well-being, one around parent-infant relationships. We like to use things like goal-based outcomes to really help dads to understand the impact of the work that they've done with us as well. But it's very much focused on what dad needs, what they want, and being very direct with them about what's happening, asking them the questions that may feel uncomfortable, but will lead to them acknowledging their own situation. Don't forget to put questions in the chat if you need to. We'll come back to it at the end. So we did some evaluation. You can find it on the website, and I'll tell you the links to the website later on. The evaluation was for the whole project over the full 9 years. It was an aggregation of data and all of the information, qualitative and quantitative, from the Dad Matters project. And it was across all local programs in the UK. So we had, and it included 83 in-depth family case studies. It included social media accounts analytics, and it had 22 stakeholder in-depth interviews with both commissioners, family hub leads, and funders, with Dad Matters coordinators who are delivering the work, and senior managers and directors from Home Starts who have a Dad Matters project. These are the highlights. I'll not talk for a minute and let you have a quick look. So some of the highlights of this evaluation, obviously, when we talk about numbers, universal outreach, engaging dads in the community of over 40,000 dads in 8 years. Bearing in mind that the first 3 years was just me. So really it's over 5 years. We've really been able to reach a lot of dads. To break that down, we'd expect one full-time coordinator in one area to see between 600 and 800 dads a year in a full year. When you look at the amount of referrals that have been supported, 1,997, one full-time coordinator, we would expect to see between 50 and 60 referrals in a year. And then looking at professionals trained, 15,000 is a lot. We would expect between 250 and 500, but that all depends on locality, on relationships with professionals, all of those kinds of things. I think the stat that I'm impressed with really is 84% of dads receiving support improved their mental health and well-being. We use different scores for that. This is an aggregation of I think it was around 800 points of 800 dads in those referrals. 84% represents their improvement on a score of something like Core 10 or Edinburgh or PHQ-9, GAD-7. As long as there was an improvement on a mental health screening tool or outcomes measure, then that's where it was recorded. And then 77% improved support, sorry, receiving support, improved their bond with their baby. Actually, it's more they improved their knowledge of what their baby needs and what that bond looks like. So knowledge of parent-infant relationships. We test that out with an outcomes measure that we created with our clinical partners at the Early Attachment Service because none of the other screening tools really did what we needed them to do. Part of the future, we'll talk about later on, is really evaluating what screening tools are out there and coming up with something that is a little bit more robust than what we've got now. As you'll see there, 431 volunteer hours, but we actually don't have volunteers matched with families. So our volunteers do a slightly different role. It's really diversifying the volunteer portfolio, which helps us as Home Starts to identify people who maybe can't commit to 2 to 3 hours a week for family support. Maybe they could do 30 minutes on an antenatal clinic once a month, and that contributes to these numbers. Dad Matters volunteers may do the universal outreach, they might do antenatal classes, they might do drop-in groups or coffee mornings or stay-in plays if the Dad Matters is offering that. They also run things like walk and talks. It's a great way to support dads to be volunteers and not ask for too much time commitment. It also means that because they're not matched with families, we can offer core training, we can offer Dad Matters specific training without the need for them to commit to a prep course that might be Monday to Friday between 10 and 3 that they just can't commit to. And it increases the amount of male volunteers within a Home Start as well, which is a good thing for everyone. We'll be looking at how we develop that over the coming months and look forward to talking to you guys about how it could look in your areas. So we're going to do our group exercise now, and hopefully Chris will be around to put you into your groups. I'd like you to chat about how father inclusive is your local Home Start. Nothing's off the table. Please be honest. If you think you're doing a great job, give us some examples, give us some evidence about it. It would be amazing to hear what's going on. If you think you're struggling, what you're struggling with, what are your expectations in particular? Do you expect to meet loads of dads? Are you expecting them to come to the groups because the groups are beneficial? What do you think the issue is? We'll come back and we'll have a little bit of feedback, both from some of the groups and in the chat, and it will help us to develop the toolkit, but it will also hopefully will help you guys to acknowledge where Dad Matters might fit for you guys and where maybe other dad services might be better for you. I'm ready to let them go, Chris, if you are.
Okay, I'll open them now.
Thank you. Okay, so thank you for doing that. I hope we had some really good discussions
to the Home Start Network.
I'm happy to take some feedback
Matters.
in the chat.
It's been 8 years,
wants to
and
unmute,
a lot of work, but also
they
a lot
had.
of pleasure.
We don't spend
learning,
loads of time doing it, so we might not get around
development,
to everyone.
to this point,
So
I'm really
if
glad
we
that
don't
you're
speak to you,
all here
please
hear
do
it.
pop it in the chat for us.
I'm going to share my screen because there's quite a few slides that have got
But yeah, if
information on.
anyone wants to put the hand up,
You will be
unmute,
able to
just let us know what your group was talking about. That would be great.
I'm going to nominate Dwayne.
watch
Go
them
on,
back on the
Dwayne.
video.
Yes, Dwayne, this is your spotlight, mate.
Hopefully that
Let's
will
go.
be working for everyone.
Spotlight's all on me.
Alex, is it working for you?
I was just explaining
Thank you
that
for coming.
I'm new
It's
to the
really
role.
exciting to be able to
So
present to the Home Start Network
speaking with the person that had
about
this
Dad
position
Matters.
before me,
It's
what
been
I
8
was saying,
years,
he was saying
and
he was having a
a lot of
difficulty
work,
in
but also a lot
keeping
of pleasure,
his
learning,
engaging the getting the
development to
referrals
get to this
is
point.
not
So
so
I'm
much
really
an
glad
issue
that
because they're
you're all here to
connected to
hear
quite a
it.
few of the professional
I'm going to
services
share my
down
screen
here
because
in
there's quite a
London.
few slides that
But
have
it's
got
once he has a
information on.
referral, it's
You will be
maintaining the
able
relationship
to
with the father over 5 to 6 weeks. So he may be able to gauge with them over 2 or 3, but he was saying
watch them
without
back on the video.
incentives, he finds it hard to kind of keep that system.
Hopefully that will be
and
working for everyone.
he was in
Alex,
having
is it working for you?
the system of volunteers
Thank you for
in
coming.
place.
It's really
Because once
exciting
the
to be able to
referrals
present
do
the Home Start
come in from the
Network
professionals,
about
they
Dad
do
Matters.
tend to come in quite thick
It's
and
been 8
heavy,
years,
and
and
without having the
a
volunteer
lot of
system
work,
in
but
place
also
to
a lot of
support
pleasure,
them,
learning,
it
development
kind of
to get to this
stumbles
point.
our
So I'm
progression
really
a
glad that
little
you're
bit
all here
on
to hear
there.
it.
So that was some of the issues.
I'm going to share my
happened
screen because there's
before
quite
me,
a few
but as I
slides
was
that have
explaining
got
to my team,
information
I'm
on.
2 weeks into the role,
You
so
will be able
just
to
completing some training, and I'm just getting into the community. So I'm just getting to grips with the role as it
watch
stands.
them back on the video. Hopefully that will be working for everyone. Whereabouts are you based? Alex, is it working for you? Thank you for coming. It's really exciting to be able to present. Amazing! I haven't met you yet. It's great to see
you.
That matters.
Great to meet you, Kieran.
It's been 8 years, and so a lot of that is absolutely a really good point. Pleasure learning and development. And I think when we're Homestart, really glad that we expect dads to engage in the same way that I'm going to share my screen because there's quite a few often dads don't want to engage for a longer term. They want a really quick turnaround of support. The opportunity to talk is usually the one thing that they need the most. Watch them back. Opportunity to offload, and then sometimes practical advice. So resources, videos, signposting, maybe referrals into other services. Thank you for coming. Clinical. It's really exciting to be able to present the opportunity to learn about their baby and learn about what's available for them. That usually it's been 8 years. Is quite a quick turnaround. And most of the referrals we get probably don't last more than 4 to 6 weeks. That tends to be about right. So I'm really glad that you're all when the referrals come from a service like I'm going to share my screen because there's quite a few slides that have got information on. Specialist midwives, you will be able to. They tend to last longer because there's more transitions for the dad. So there's more touch points for them to engage with them at points where they need someone to talk to. And they're the professionals we really need to chase. Hopefully they're the ones where we really want those referrals to come in from them. And that's why that professional engagement is as important as the one to the Homestart network about Dad Matters. And the fact that we don't have volunteers at Dad Matters matched with families work doesn't mean that Homestart volunteers can't match with dads, match with families to do Homestart core work. Like we don't want to isolate dads from what Homestart. I'm going to share my screen because there's quite a few slides that have got information on. Dad Matters, you will be able to in this period doing this very particular piece of work around attachment bonding and mental health. But dads can still use Homestart on the video. Co-works with Homestart coordinators and Homestart volunteers. Hopefully that will do all of that work together. So it makes sense for us to kind of work together. Thank you for coming. It's a good point. It's really exciting to be able to present. It's really useful for us because as we build the toolkit, we can make sure it's been 8 years and mention that a lot of work. We talk about best practice in other areas and how that looks. Development to get to this point. So anybody else wants to feed anything back that came from their group? I'm going to share my screen because there's quite a few slides that have got information
talked about Fred.
You will be able to
and we talked about I mean, I showed about my passion, what I'd love to do because I'm new in my role. So when I'm
hopefully that will be working for
when
everyone.
it's cold and rainy,
Alex, is it working for you?
You're not going to find any dads
Thank you
that
for coming.
want to engage
It's really
with you.
exciting to be able to present
but
to the Homestart network.
I'm quite passionate
about
about reading and library
it's been 8
visits
years and
for dads.
a lot of
I follow
work,
a page
but also a lot of
on
pleasure
Instagram
learning.
that is in Atlanta, and it's just fathers, you know, with
I'm going to share my screen because there's quite a few slides that have got information on.
And it's
you will be able to.
It's growing, and I have that kind of vision in my heart. I'd love to be able to facilitate something here, but
hopefully that will be working
it's
for
not.
everyone.
I mean, I'm a family.
Thank you for coming.
Community
it's really
engagement
exciting to be able to present to the Homestart network.
It's not really part of my role, but we haven't really got anything for fathers in my area.
Work,
but
also
it's just
a lot of pleasure learning. Development.
I'm a little bit cautious how to go about it, and also whether it would
I'm going to
work.
share my screen because there's quite a few slides that have got information on.
In my experience,
you will be able to.
A lot of the fathers that I see on the it's mainly mothers, and then the fathers are working, you know. But I think it would be important to tap into.
Alex, is it working?
You know, we discussed maybe going to the barbershop.
It's really exciting.
You know, I like to harass my friend who was a barbershop. You know, so I go in there and give leaflets.
It's been 8 years,
so I think
and
something
a lot of work,
like
but also
that.
a
But
lot of
that's
pleasure,
for me.
learning,
My vision
development to get to this
would
point.
be
So
to
I'm
see
really glad that you're
a library full of that.
I'm going to share my screen because there's quite a few slides
that would be amazing, wouldn't
information
it?
on.
And we know the benefits
you will be able
of dads
to,
reading with their children and their babies from a very early age, even before they're born, is massively beneficial for school readiness, for attachment, for that relationship.
Hopefully that will be working for everyone.
We can really help
Alex, is it working for you?
by
developing those.
Thank
types
you
of
for coming.
services.
It's really,
Dad
really
Matters, that would be
exciting to
something
be
we
able to
add
present
on after
to
we've
the Homestart
established
Network,
everything else
about Dad Matters.
But it's definitely something that
it's been 8
we
years
could look at.
and
What we tend to do is
a
we
lot of
find what's
work,
happening in the
but
local
also a
area,
lot
like
of
you mentioned,
pleasure,
Fred, so
learning,
Father's Reading Every Day.
development.
Yeah.
There's an initiative, I think the Fatherland Institute pioneered it. It happens in
I'm going to share my screen because there's
Blackpool,
quite a few
Belfast,
slides that have
and
got
some other places
information
in the
on.
country. It's a great initiative.
You will be able to.
It can be done, but you've got to really think about why are you engaging the dads. So to engage dads to read to their children
video
isn't the same as engaging dads who might have struggles with mental health
will be
and
working for
attachment.
everyone.
And so we would approach
Alex, is it working for you?
engaging those dads in
Thank you
different
for
ways.
coming. It's
Yeah.
really, really exciting to be able
To do
present
something
to the
universal
Homestart
like
Network,
reading or a stay and
about
play
Dad
group
Matters.
or a walk and talk
been 8
group
years
that isn't
and
specifically
a lot
targeted
of
at
work,
dads that need
but also
support.
a lot of pleasure.
It takes a lot of
learning,
time. It takes a lot of
development,
capacity
to
and,
get to this point.
effort,
So I'm really
and
glad that you're all
often
here to hear it.
you have to have a lot of
I'm going to share my
patience
screen because there's
and
quite a few slides
consistency
that have got
to make it happen.
information on.
It won't happen
You
because
will
we
be
know how
able
good it
to,
is. Doesn't mean that the dads are going to come.
Yeah.
And so that's something to think about. But it's
watch them
definitely
back
can
on the
can
video.
happen. And one of the things we want to do at Homestart UK over the next few years is
Hopefully that
develop
will be
this kind of
working for
community of
everyone.
practice around
Alex,
what
is
is
it working for
working
you?
for Homestarts around dads,
Thank you for
not
coming.
just the Dad
It's
Matters
really,
project,
really
but,
exciting to be able to present
who are reaching
to the
dads in
Homestart
these
Network,
reading groups, in the stay and
about
play
Dad
groups,
Matters.
in the antenatal groups,
It's been 8 years,
walking groups, whatever it might be. Who's
a
doing
lot
that
of
really
work,
well, and how
but also
we
a lot
share
of
that with
pleasure,
other people.
learning.
But it's a really good
development,
point. Thank you very
to
much
get
for
to
that one.
this point. So I'm
Really
glad that
useful.
you're all here to hear it.
Tracy's
I'm going
got
to
a
share
hand
my
up.
screen because there's quite a few slides that have got information on.
Hello.
You will be able to.
We were sort of having a chat about recruiting male volunteers and some of the sort of challenges
watch
around
them
that, which
back
led
on
on
the
to quite an
video.
interesting sort of mini discussion about
Hopefully that will
whether
be working for everyone.
generally
Alex, is it working for
dads
you?
prefer
Thank you for coming.
receiving
It's
support
really, really exciting
from
to be
a
able to
fellow
present
dad
to the
from a
Homestart
position
Network
of sort of
about
understanding,
Dad Matters.
or
It's been 8
generally would
years
they
and
prefer support
a lot of
from
work, but
a
also a lot
female
of
that
pleasure,
maybe
learning,
then
development. To get to
haven't
this
got
point.
that
So
kind
I'm
of
really
peer
glad that you're all
comparison
here
and
to hear it.
maybe offer a
I'm going to
different
share
kind
my
of
screen
thing,
because there's
or
quite a few
and I just
slides that
wondered
have
what
got
your
information on.
experience of that was, or opinion.
You will be able
Kieran.
to.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a great question. Some research that the Fatherland Institute did
watch them
shows
back
that
on the
in
video.
intervention, a male or a female deliverer of
Hopefully that will be
intervention,
working for everyone.
is no
Alex, is it
no
working
reflection
for
on
you?
the success of the
Thank you
intervention
for coming.
for
It's
men.
really, really
So it
exciting
doesn't
to
matter
be
if
able to
you're a man
present
or a woman when
to
you're
the
delivering
Homestart
an
Network,
intervention to a dad.
about Dad
It
Matters.
will be as successful,
It's
and it's
been 8
all about
years
your
and
professional
a lot of work,
approach,
but also
the language
a lot
that
of
you
pleasure,
use, the
learning,
resources that
development,
you have to hand.
to get to this
all of
point.
those
So
things
I'm
can help
really
with
glad
that
that
interaction.
you're all here to hear it.
Where there isn't any research,
I'm going
is
to
the
share my screen
engagement
because
of
there's
dads
quite a
into
few
the
slides that
intervention
have
in the
got
first
information
place,
on.
and that's the bit that Dad Matters
You will be able
has
to
managed to learn a lot about in terms of that engagement and the ambition for dads to attend those types of
watch
interventions.
them back on the video.
Some research from a little while ago
Hopefully that will
shows
be
that
working for everyone.
men in
Alex, is it working for you?
counselling
Thank you for
environment
coming.
or a
It's really, really
mental health
exciting
support
to be able to
environment
present
do
to the
often
Homestart
prefer
Network,
speaking to women
about
because
Dad
women
Matters.
often have a different
It's been 8
approach
years
to listening
and,
than men
a
do.
lot of work, but also
but
a
that
lot
doesn't
of
mean
pleasure,
that the
learning,
engagement of the men into that
development, to get to
intervention
this point. So I'm really glad that
is going to be
you're all here
successful
to
if it's a
hear it.
woman trying to engage them. So
I'm going to share my
sometimes there's a
screen
bit of
because
a
there's quite a few slides that have got
issue between
information on.
engagement and intervention.
You
When
will be
think
able to
about both parts of that really. But yeah, we have female coordinators running Dad Matters in various areas.
watch them
Louise is
back
on the
on the
call. We've got
video.
Maggie and Kirk. They're doing an amazing job, and part of that is
Hopefully
because
that
the
will be
brand that
working
we've
for
built,
everyone.
Dad Matters
Alex,
powered
is it
by
working for you?
Homestart, is absolutely
Thank you for coming.
male
It's really, really
focused.
exciting
We have
to be able to
male
present
focused language.
to
We
the
have
Homestart Network,
consultation with dads to
about
build
Dad
the
Matters.
resources. We have
been
the
8
images
years
of dads
and,
doing the things that they
a
don't
lot of
see themselves
work,
doing
but
often.
also a lot of
in
pleasure,
media and
learning,
on social media and things like
development,
that.
to
So
get
that
to
the
this
brand
point.
can
So
really
I'm
help
really
with the
glad that
engagement.
you're all
If
here
you're
to
a
hear it.
woman
I'm
who
going to
goes
share my
with
screen
dad
because
and
there's quite a
says,
few
I'm from
slides
Dad
that have
Matters
got
supporting
information
dad,
on.
they can't then assume
You
that
will
that's
be able
woman.
to,
And that's been one of the biggest barriers to the way services approach dads over the last 2 or 3
watch them
decades.
back on the video.
Thanks, Tracy, for that one. Stuart,
Hopefully that will be working for everyone.
Yeah, I was just going to
Alex, is it
say,
working
we
for you?
discussed a bit in our group.
Thank you for coming.
One of
It's
the ways
really,
we've
really
engaged
exciting to be able
dads
to
is
present to the
via our
Homestart
Mums in
Network
Mind postnatal
about
depression
Dad Matters.
project. So it's kind of come
It's
off
been
the
8
back
years
of that, where
and
I don't know
a lot
whether
of work,
other
but
home
also
starts,
a
I
lot
know
of
some
pleasure,
home starts
learning,
deliver it, it.
development.
And we've
to
managed to engage
I'm
dads
really
on the
glad that
partner
you're all here
session.
to hear it.
And then we
I'm going to share my screen because there's quite a few slides that
we've
have got information on.
Dad's project that
you will be able to.
It's funded by Health, and it's not Dad Matters, but I'm sure there's lots of similarities.
Watch them back on the video.
Dad Matters. So that's one good way.
Hopefully that will
engaging
be
dads
working for everyone.
Through where you've
Alex,
got the
is it working
engagement
for you?
with mum, and
Thank you for coming. It's really, really
sometimes, to be
exciting
fair,
to be
I
able to
think
present
mum
to the
might
Homestart
push that.
Network about
You
Dad
know,
Matters.
but then if you've got the right
It's been 8
engagement, and you
years
can show
and
them that you're there
a
to
lot of
support them,
work,
you are
but
dad
also a lot of
focused,
pleasure, learning,
then that can be a
development
tool
to get to this
because
point. So I'm
dads
really
are
glad that
much
you're
harder
all
to
here to
engage
hear
than
it.
mums. We
I'm
found
going
that,
to
you
share my
found
screen
that,
because there's
Kieran,
quite a
haven't
few
you?
slides that have
It's
got information
really
on.
difficult.
You will be able to.
I've flippantly said in my group, unless it involves football or pubs, it's quite
watch them back on the
it's
video.
quite often a bit challenging.
Yeah, and it's really difficult, isn't it?
Hopefully that will
Because
be working
we don't
for everyone.
necessarily want to engage
Alex,
dads
is it
about
working for
football
you?
and pubs because the dads that
Thank
come
you
then
for
are
coming.
usually
It's
dads that
really,
are
really
okay.
exciting to be able to
They're
present
okay to go to
to
the
the Homestart
football or
Network,
go to the pub or
about Dad
and
Matters.
actually the dads that are
It's
struggling,
been
they're not
8
going to go to
years
those types of
and,
interventions.
a
We
lot
need
of
to find
work,
them
but also
in
a
the
lot of
spaces where
pleasure,
they're struggling.
learning,
And for dad matters, that means
to get to this
health
point.
visitors,
So I'm really
midwives,
glad that
like you
you're
said,
all here to hear it.
mothers in my group is great.
I'm going to
because
share my screen because
the
there's quite a
dads
few
want to know
slides
how
that
to
have
support
got
the mums,
information
and if
on.
that's your angle, they're more likely
you will
to
be
come
able
into your
to
service. And then you can talk to them about their own well-being because that's important for them to be able to support their partner and their baby.
watch them back on the
So
video.
there's lots of ways of kind of nurturing it. And the other point to
Hopefully
make
that
on
will be
that is
working for everyone.
the
Alex,
expectations
is it
that we
working
have
for
as
you?
a service of
Thank you
how
for coming.
we're going to
It's
reach
really,
dads.
really exciting
When
to be
we've
able
been
to present
delivering
to the
Homestart
Homestart
for
Network
50 years and reached
about
all
Dad
of the mums
Matters.
that we've reached.
It's been 8 years,
But we're still
and,
not reaching dads. If we
a lot
still
of
try to
work,
reach
but
dads in that
also
way,
a lot of
when
pleasure,
it's never going to
learning,
work. We've tried it for so long
to get to this point.
We've needed
So
to be
I'm really glad
innovative.
that
We've
you're
needed
all
to
here
think
to hear it.
about it outside the box.
I'm going to share my
we need
screen
to be
because
very
there's quite a few
specific
slides
about
that
what the
have
offer
got
is.
information on.
This is for dads.
You will be able
This is
to,
why. This is what dads will get from it. Really encouraging professionals to refer dads in, but also how do we engage
watch
dads?
them back
And that's
on
not
the
through
video.
saying if you need support, we're here for you. Because we've been
Hopefully
trying
that
that
will be
in
working
mental
for
health
everyone.
circles for men for
Alex, is it
decades,
working for you?
and telling dads that they
Thank
need
you
to
for
reach
coming.
out to us
It's
has
really,
not
really
worked.
exciting to be able to
Getting men
present
to reach out to us
the
has
Homestart
never
Network.
worked. What we need to do is
about
reach
Dad
in.
Matters.
We need to go to where
It's been
they're
8
at. We need
years
to say to them,
and,
"How are you doing?
a lot of
What are you
work,
struggling
but
with?
also a
What
lot
can we
of
talk
pleasure,
about? How
learning,
can we help you?"
development,
in a place
to
that
get
feels
to this
comfortable
point.
for
So
them.
I'm really glad that
And if you can
you're all
do
here to hear
that,
it.
like Mothers in Mind group,
I'm
where
going
you
to
have the
share my
partner
screen
group,
because there's quite a
that's
few
perfect
slides that have
example
got
of
information
dads are
on.
coming there to learn about how to support
You will
mum,
be able
but you can
to,
ask them there what they're struggling with, and they're more likely to open up when you ask them directly.
watch them
And
back
some of that is
on the
about getting in
video.
front of the dad. One of the reasons we do all of our universal
Hopefully
outreach
that will be working for everyone.
is
Alex,
because we
is it
can
working
ask
for you?
dads how they are in that space.
Thank you for coming.
It could be on a
It's
neonatal
really, really
unit,
exciting
mother
to
and
be able to
baby
present
unit, could be
to
in a
the
scan
Homestart
clinic,
Network,
all of those places. But
about
it's
Dad
definitely
Matters.
worth asking them.
It's been 8 years.
Thanks for that,
and,
Stuart. Really good
a lot of work.
Anybody got
also
any
a lot of
burning issues
pleasure,
they want to
learning,
share with us
development
that
to
you
get
want to
this
do
point.
now?
So I'm
Or
really glad that
should we move
you're all
on?
here to hear it. I'm going to share my screen because there's quite a few slides that have got information on.
Emma.
You will be able to.
Sorry, we were really, really lucky to have Louise in our group, who is a Dad Matters coordinator, which
watch
meant
them
we
back
could
on the
just
video.
get so much information. But I really think your point that you just made there is kind
Hopefully
of
that
what
will
I
be
came
working for
away
everyone.
with, which is we have
Alex,
to
is
think
it working for
differently
you?
about it. So
Thank
we
you for
were an
coming.
all-female
It's really, really
staff team
exciting to
going,
be able to
I think
present
we're
to
accessible
the
and
Homestart
inclusive
Network,
of dads. And
about
what we
Dad
really
Matters.
needed, so we recently held a
It's been
meeting
8
where we got
years
some
and,
of our male
a lot of
volunteers and trust, and
work,
really
but
had
also
to
a
get
lot of
them to
pleasure,
look
learning,
at our information, our
development, to
website.
get to this
So we
point.
have
So
to
I'm really glad that
be the
you're all here to
same,
hear
so
it.
open,
I'm
caring,
going to share my
but we
screen
have
because
to
there's
do
quite a
it
few
differently.
slides
And
that
I
have got
think
information on.
Louise was really helpful in
You
helping
will
us
be
see
able
that
to,
going to dads is what we need to do rather than sitting and waiting. Which so I suppose I'm just saying your point was what we
watch
were
them
talking
back
about
on
in
the
our
video.
group, but it made a lot of sense. And Louise also talked about her amazing
Hopefully that will
way.
be
You know,
working for
she's
everyone.
engaging with dads and
Alex,
actually
is it working for you?
has done it really successfully.
you
So
for
it took
coming.
a lot of
It's
fear
really,
away, I
really
think, from the
exciting
group
to be able
around
to present
females
to
doing
the
that
Homestart
role
Network,
too. So
about
yeah,
Dad
it was great
Matters.
to have Louise in the group and get
It's
some
been
real
8
life
years
stuff. So
and,
big thank you to Louise.
a lot of work,
Thank
but
you
also
for
a
that
lot
one.
of pleasure,
Yeah,
learning,
great points. I think it is.
development.
It's just
to
about
get to this
approach
point.
and it's
So I'm
about
really glad that
resource and it's
you're all
about
here to hear it.
how we think about it.
I'm going to share my screen because there's quite a few
Going
slides
to
that have
dads,
got
reaching
information on.
is always
you
better
will
for
be able
engagement
to
than waiting for them to reach you, because if you wait for them to reach you, you might get dads. You might get 20 dads every Saturday morning at Stay and Play having bacon butties and a brew.
Hopefully
but
that will
those
be
20
working for
dads will
everyone.
not need support for their
Alex,
mental
is it
health
working
or
for you?
attachment with their baby.
Thank you for coming.
They just won't.
It's
They'll
really,
be
really exciting
confident
to be able
enough
to present
to find the
to the
resources
Homestart
and
Network
education they need
about Dad Matters.
That's why they wrote those
It's been 8
types of
years,
groups.
and
But also
a
one
lot
last
of
point on
work,
this
but
is
also a lot of
if
pleasure,
we see
learning,
30 to 40
development,
dads
to
in
get to
2
this
hours
point.
on
So
an
I'm
antenatal
really glad
clinic
that
where they're
you're
doing
all getting to
scans.
hear it. I'm going to share my screen because there's quite
But
a
we
few
only see
slides
10
that have
dads
got
a week
information
in a
on.
Stay and Play on Saturday morning.
You will be able to.
Then our capacity is better spent in the clinic, without a doubt. And when we do that
watch them
clinic,
back
we could
on the
also
video.
do the neonatal unit, the post-labour ward, Hopefully that will be working
induction
for everyone.
bay. Like we can see dads
Alex, is
in
it
every
working for you?
part of the hospital.
Thank you for
and
coming.
build that
It's
number
really,
up
really exciting
even
to be
more.
able to present to the
And
Homestart
the
Network.
benefit of that is
about
that
Dad
those
Matters.
dads need
It's been 8
resources,
years,
education,
and
support.
a lot of
they need
work, but
signposting.
also a lot
They're
of pleasure,
worried about what they're
learning,
going to be like as a
development,
dad, as a
to get to this
partner.
point. So
They
I'm
want
really
you to
glad
ask
that
them how
you're
they
willing
are.
to
They
hear it.
want to be able to talk.
I'm
to
going
you
to
about
share my
what's going
screen
on.
because there's quite a
And
few
if we do it
slides that
there,
have got
they're
information
more
on.
likely to understand that they're
You will be
available
able
when they need it later.
to
And so it's for me feels like a really good way to do it.
watch them back on the video. Hopefully that will be working for everyone. Alex, is it working for you? Thank you for coming.
Catherine, I've seen
It's
a couple
really,
of questions
really
and we've got some
exciting
other
to be able to
questions. So I'm
present
going to come
to
back
the
to them
Homestart
when we do
Network
the Q&A,
about Dad
put a
Matters.
pin in it for now.
It's
We'll get
been
there, I
8
promise.
years and
Okay,
a lot of
I'll move
work,
on.
but also a lot of pleasure.
So, what's new? We've done quite a lot of work over the last few months. The transition from Homestart Host to Homestart UK was agreed to start in May until the end of October. So I've been working on secondment with Homestart UK. One of the things that we really knew we had to do was make sure that everyone knew that it was Homestart. We're always really clear individually with referrers and dads that, you know, Dad Matters is a Homestart project. We work for Homestart, we are Homestart. But sometimes from the outside, because dads need it to look like Dad Matters, often Homestart was kind of missed off, particularly by referrers who didn't know Homestart that well. So we've altered the brand slightly. If you're aware of the brand, you'll know that there's the big head, which is the dad, but also crucially, the baby is always next to the dad. We never use the dad without the baby on the logo. We changed the font, the dad and the Matters, to the Homestart font, so it aligns with the logo, and we changed the color of the Matters from red, which is what dads wanted in our initial pilot 8 years ago, to the Homestart orange, which is a slight change, doesn't look too different, so it's still very recognizable, but again, it ties it back into the logo. These are all the new logos that you can see on the screen, and we've got brand guidelines there too. The one that we're going to use all the time on everything that we produce is Dad Matters powered by Homestart. It can be like the lockup in the middle where there's the two logos, and it can also be stacked with text like on the right hand side. Some resources that are dad facing in particular will need the Dad Matters logo to be quite big and quite prominent, and so on things like pull-up banners and posters, we can use the Dad Matters logo as long as we have the lockup or the stacked text somewhere else on the item, which is fine. We also were always really keen to use a shade of blue on our resources. So Dad Matters across the country have got lots of different types of blue, types of flyers and posters and things like that. They all use blue and they always have the Dad Matters logo on. What we've realized is that blue with purple and orange doesn't always go that great. So we've looked at some of the more masculine colors, and actually black is a really great color for engaging with men. And when you partner that with purple or with orange or with white, it actually is really, really good in a comms perspective. So we're using black callouts with orange, purple, and things like that. And you can find all of this now on the Brand Center. It's all in collections under Dad Matters. So the brand guidelines are there. All of the new logos and stuff like that are there too. All of that is to help us to share this with more Homestarts across the UK. As this project moves to Homestart UK, it will be part of Homestart UK's offer to the network. So there'll not be a license fee like there has been in the past when Homestart Host needed to charge for the time spent on it. It will just be accessible to Homestarts who have the funding capacity to deliver in their area. And support will be there from me as well. The next is some images. So part of the fun. Sorry, go on, Stuart. I'll answer this one when you got your hand up. Oh, you're on mute, Stuart.
I couldn't find the mute button. Yeah, you just said about the funding. Obviously, Homestart UK got a significant amount of funding. Is any of that going to come out to the network on delivery?
There will be, but we don't know what it looks like yet, and we'll get to that by the end of the presentation. It's built in, but yeah, we'll get to that. Thanks for that. So the funding that we got was split into 3 parts. The first part was about establishing Dad Matters at Homestart UK, building the training products, the toolkit, all of that sort of stuff. And part of that was some new images that we needed. If you've ever searched the Homestart brand stencil for pictures of dads, there was maybe 3 or 4 individual dads with a few pictures, and they were great, but they tended to be toddlers. There wasn't a lot with babies or pregnancy or antenatal. So we've had a few photo shoots over the last few weeks. All of these now are on the brand stencil. You can go in there and find these pictures. They're not Dad Matters specific. You can use them for Homestart images as well. Top left is Sal, a Bangladeshi dad with a mixed race baby who was about 8 weeks old when we took the pictures. He's also a volunteer at Homestart Warrington. Bottom left is Alex with his little girl who is now 6 years old, and she was a neonatal baby, and we've got a few pictures of Alex in the neonatal unit. Centre is Tom, who's a coordinator in Warrington and Halton, speaking to a pregnant couple in an antenatal clinic. We've got another Alex with the black t-shirt on, hugging the baby. Alex is a young dad who's 19, who's also trans and gave birth to their baby and got support from Homestart in Manchester, in Tameside and Oldham. Support with infant feeding and with kind of that masculine role and support, which was amazing. We've got a photo shoot from Gloucestershire with the dad, I think is Craig, with his baby, and we also got some antenatal pictures there. And then we did a walk and talk in Greater Manchester, and you can see it was sunnier then. We had shorts on. It wasn't as cold as it is now. And we got a few dads and some prams, and there's a load of pictures from that too. We've also got pictures of antenatal appointments with midwives on, with doctors, with neonatal units. We have a 1 hour old baby being breastfed with dad sitting alongside supporting mum. There's plenty of images on the brand centre for you to kind of look at and use for Homestart. It's not specifically but Dad Matters, so you can use these for whatever you need to use them for. We've also been working on social media graphics using some of the new images. As you can see, the brand really comes into its own when you look at social media. The black and orange and the orange with white all looks really, really good. It makes us stand out, but it also makes it obvious that it's Homestart. We're tying this into Homestart social media as well, so we're often co-sharing and collaborating on all of the posts. Please do share from Dad Matters UK accounts or Homestart UK accounts. Or tag us in things. If you want to improve your social media reach for dads, tagging Dad Matters in it is a really good way to do that, because it will improve your algorithms in social media to put it in front of dads that might not necessarily find your stuff. And then coming soon on the brand stencil, we have this pull-up banner is there already, which is just a generic pull-up banner for people to use. But we also have a Dear Dad leaflet, which is an educational, informative leaflet we use to give to dads in all of those universal engagements, that's been created in conjunction with clinical psychologists and with parent-infant relationships in mind. We have a NICU one that we've just developed with Miracle Moon, who's an organisation supporting NICU babies. And then we'll have posters and flyers. These are all part of how we build Dad Matters in a local area. It's part of the offer to professionals and to services that we need to engage with for those referrals. But it's also a great way of raising awareness and building touch points with dads too. So all of those will be available again on the brand stencil. And then we gave the website a refresh. I don't know if you've ever been on the website. It was great for about 4 years, and then we suddenly had so many Homestarts using it for their Dad Matters page. It was really hard to manage. We had too many people editing it, and too many things happening in the background that really made the website run like a bag of spanners, is the technical term. So this is the new website. It's still dadmatters.org.uk, but this is hosted within the Homestart UK website, so you can also get to it through Homestart UK through the homepage. There's lots of signposting on here. So if you go to info, there's a drop-down menu and it says info for dads. That has loads of signposting for dads to resources, to support services, to pages around things like separation and contact, LGBTQI+ parents, NICU dads, domestic abuse for male victims, and there's a few others that might be relevant to dads that you come across. Even if you don't have a Dad Matters, it might be relevant for you to signpost into that. There's also a map with the local Dad Matters projects. The more of you that have Dad Matters, the more that map will be filled up and it will look really pretty with more colours on it. So that will be amazing. But it does show you who your nearest one is now. And if you're looking to talk to anybody who has Dad Matters about maybe setting it up, maybe that's a good idea to liaise with your more local ones too. And there's a blog. So the blog has information about the evaluation that we've just done. It has information about the research into suicide in dads in the perinatal period. It also has case studies of dads. Mike, who is from Greater Manchester, who was a service user supported by Homestart Host, now is a coordinator there. He's shared his story, and we've got some other case studies of other dads that we've worked with as well. And we're happy to take more blogs, not just from Dad Matters dads, but anything to do with being a dad, or being a mum supporting a dad, or having experiences with partners. We're happy to take those blogs. So please get in touch if you've got anything that you would like to share with us. And then you can contact us through there too. So this is the bit that we are busy producing. This is how we're going to share Dad Matters with the network. Up until now, we had a manual, as I said, at Homestart Host. The manual was set up with the intention of helping the local home starts to understand the background to Dad Matters, what the core values, fundamentals, and stuff like that were, and how it worked in practice. But in practice, it meant that I was spending a lot of time supporting local home starts to set up a Dad Matters project. And so we had to charge a license fee, which at the time was £4,000, with £400 a year as like an ongoing cost, which contributed to my time more than anything else in that. Now that it's transitioning to Homestart UK, there will be no license fee. There's no ongoing costs. It's built into the offer from Homestart UK to local home starts. So you will be able to benefit from this if you decide to use Dad Matters in the future. The toolkit we're hoping to build by the end of the year to have it available. We're going to start trying to test it around November time, early December, with some coordinators who are already delivering Dad Matters and some managers that have Dad Matters first, just to test that we've got all the right information in there to see if there's any gaps that we need to fill. And then we'll go out to the network to see if anybody wants to have a look through it, see if it makes sense to them as somebody who's never delivered Dad Matters or doesn't know about Dad Matters. In the toolkit will be the very core values, fundamentals. So what do we do? Why do we do it? How do we do it? What are the outcomes we expect? What will it cost? Those kinds of things. It'll cover how to set up a project at your local home start, including where to get funding from, what recruitment should look like, what induction will be, and how to find the right person to deliver Dad Matters, because they're not necessarily the same as a family support worker, but there are some skills that they will need around family support, like record keeping, report writing, safeguarding, all of those types of things. So we need to recruit the right people. There'll be information about delivery. So how do you embed the Dad Matters project in what you already do at Homestart? The only time Dad Matters should look different from what Homestart already do is when it's facing dads. So when a dad sees us, it will look different. Everything else is Homestart to the core. All of the processes, policies, procedures, everything should be the same. There might be tweaks that you want to make to policies and procedures and risk assessments and things like that, because the delivery might look slightly different in terms of universal engagement, professional engagement and training. But in terms of one-to-one support, it's what we do. It's bread and butter for Homestart, so it shouldn't look different. But information about how to make sure that comes across when you're setting up a project. There'll be information about data and evidence, so not just our evaluation, but national and international research about dads, mental health, attachment and bonding, all of the kind of best practice across the world. There'll be information about all of that there too. There'll be information about social media, why it's important, how to use it, how to set it up, how to maintain it, and then about the core work. You know, the three things that we talked about earlier on, why that's important, how to set that up, and how to establish that so that it's consistent and it's working, it's appropriate. But then what's those added value activities? The things like the stay and plays, the walk and talks, the drop-ins, the baby massage, the infant first aid, all of those things we can do as Dad Matters and bring dads into it, because we're seeing them in those other areas, those referrals and universal spaces. But how does that look for your local home start? What will it need to look like for you? And actually, some local home starts might need it to look different because they have a different makeup or a different staffing structure, or they might have different funding structures, different geographical regions, different links with local services, etc. And we can support with kind of best practice around that as well. And then finally, maintenance and scaling. So what do you need to do to maintain your project, to evidence it, to show that it's working, but also how you're going to scale it? Is there opportunities to recruit more? So at Homestart Host, for instance, where we set up Dad Matters, there's now 8 coordinators across 10 boroughs. Homestart Manchester have 2 coordinators, Gloucestershire have 3 coordinators, Warrington have 3. There's a few others that kind of have more than one, and it's working out what the implications for that are, what the costings might be, but also what are the expectations? What are you going to do to reach dads when you've got more staff? This will all be based on at home, so it'll be within the intranet. It's not available there yet. It will be published once we've gone to test it, hopefully by the end of the year. What we do have on at home is 3 Dad Matters specific communities. There's one for Dad Matters coordinators, who all the coordinators will join when they become a Dad Matters coordinator. There's one for Dad Matters managers, so any home starts that are managing a Dad Matters project will be in that one, and that's about sharing best practice for those that are delivering. And then there's one that is Dad Matters for all, and that actually is for anybody that's working with dads. It's not just about Dad Matters, but there'll be information about Dad Matters in there for new projects who want to think about setting theirs up or want to start using the project, but also sharing best practice about other dads' work in the network. We have loads of opportunities to learn from other dads' projects that might do that 3 to 5 or 3 to 12. Like some home starts are doing really, really good work in those spaces, and we want to be able to share that there too. So that's all in development. You can find the groups now, and you can join the Dad Matters specific ones if you are Dad Matters, but you should be able to join the other one at some point in the next few weeks. I'll make sure that it's open for you to request to join it. Some useful links for you. Obviously, dadmatters.org.uk is the website, but you can also get to it through the Homestart website. The impact report is, I think Alex put that in the chat already, so the evaluation that we've done is in there. There's about 80 pages. There's case studies, there's quotes from dads, professionals, referrers, and then there's data. The data that we shared with you earlier on is just a really small snapshot. So please do have a look through it and use that if you need to leverage funding or to support promoting the project. There's also research into suicide amongst new dads. This is really groundbreaking. I've been banging on about this for about 8 years now. There's no data around how many dads are lost to suicide in the first two years of their baby's life. We don't collect it in the UK. It is collected in Wales as part of a larger cohort study. So this research has pulled that data from there and really extrapolates the information to show what that would be in the UK. We're looking at 2 to 3 dads per week losing their life to suicide with a child under 2. That is 7 times more dads than mums losing their life to suicide in the perinatal period. And there's no provision for that for dads in the UK. So somewhere like Dad Matters is the perfect conduit for really promoting and hopefully influencing policy, influencing funding to make sure there is more support for dads in particular in that space. So that's a really, really useful research. If you need the page on our website that has a bit of a summary of it as well, if you don't like to read research papers that can be quite dry. I've already mentioned Dad Matters at Home, managers, coordinators, and the group for All In. And then the toolkit, which is in development, which you will be able to find once that's been published. And we will make sure we're keeping people up to date on At Home and in the newsletters as we complete these things. Thank you. Has anybody got any questions? Let me stop sharing. This is time for questions, but also this is a time for Alex to tell me if I've missed anything, because I may have.
No, I mean, I think that was very thorough. I mean, Stuart had the question around funding. So Kieran, I don't know if you just want to just briefly explain where we are. I mean, in many ways, we're not that there is Onward funding. It's an absolute part of the funding from 1001 Critical Days. But Kieran, do you want to explain what's going to happen over the next 3 months?
Yeah, so a substantial amount of the funding is for Onward grants to the network for the Dad Matters programme. We don't know how we're going to distribute it or what it will look like or how much will be available to individual projects yet. Over the next 3 months, we're working with the foundation to identify how we're going to do that, how we're going to have those grants assessed and applications in. And also, it needs to be built into kind of a local authority family hub model. So we want to be making sure that we've got all of the criteria correct and all of those kinds of things. So it'll take us a little while to get to the point where we can announce to you guys how that's going to look and how much it will be and when it will happen. We're hoping to have all of that done by the end of December so that we can start the process from January and hopefully have new Dad Matters projects in place from April onwards. So that the aim is for April to be the start date for any new ones. We don't know how many we'll be able to fund. We don't know what the amount will be. Again, the foundation are really keen to work with us to identify home starts and local authorities where we can get the match funding in. So it'll be very much seed funding. It won't be funding for a whole project. We want local authorities to buy in. We want to influence them to understand the benefits of having a project like Dad Matters within Home Start. And so that'll be the idea. And we'll be able to support that centrally, but we'll also be able to leverage some of that kudos that the foundation have, that Andrea Leadsom in particular and Matt Price from the foundation have with local authorities. And obviously the evidence that we've been able to gather will help with that too. I hope that answers that.
Thanks, Kieran. So if we, there were a couple of questions that Catherine put in the chat earlier on. One of them was, and I've lost it.
Oh, I've got it. Yeah. Percentage of scans, percentage of dads attending scans, and highest engagement. So the Father Institute did some research a few years ago called Who's the Bloke in the Room, I think it was, and it showed that over 98% of dads attend an antenatal appointment, and usually that will be a 20-week scan. So we know that most dads attend at least one antenatal appointment. So that's a great place to go. In practice, what we've learned is that if you go to a hospital where scans are taking place, you can see between 15 and 30 dads in an hour in that waiting area, which is better than any other kind of dad offer. So dads groups, for instance, might have 10 or 15 dads, but they'll be the same 10 or 15 dads every week. They won't be different dads every time you do it. If you go to an antenatal clinic, a scan clinic in particular, they're going to be 15 to 30 different dads every day that you're there. So if we have a coordinator doing 1 day a week and then a volunteer doing a couple of days as well, we're seeing lots and lots of dads in that area. We have an evaluation for Stockport, which is a family hub model, one full-time member of staff funded through the local authority. We did an evaluation on that one. You can get that. It's not on the website yet, but it will be on the data and evidence page. So that shows that we reached about 700 dads in universal engagement in that first year. The first 3 months are establishing networks, delivering training. There's not any engagement, so that's 9 months of work. It was about 600 to 700 dads, and that works pretty much everywhere we've done it. That tends to be the numbers that we're looking at once we've established relationships with midwifery, like maternity leads, and the hospital trust to make sure that we get that permission to be in those spaces. But yeah, it's definitely antenatally. Dads are available. They are at scans. They are sometimes at antenatal appointments. But there are other places that dads go. They will be in the neonatal unit. If you get the timing right, particularly early evening is a great place to visit a neonatal unit. But they don't want to leave their babies, so you have to be walking around the unit, speaking to the dads alongside their babies about their babies. That tends to be why they want to engage. There's also mother and baby units where mums are inpatients and dads are visiting. There's post-labour wards, prenatal wards or induction suites. Birth registrations is another great place to reach dads. One thing to remember is we need to concentrate on our capacity. So if you have a couple of hours, the best place to be is an antenatal scan clinic because you'll see more dads. But actually, the quality of the conversation in a NICU is probably better because those dads will have specific questions and need specific support. So there might be less dads there, but it's great to be able to tie the two together. So if you're at a hospital, you could do all of those in one go. Places like birth registrations, all dads have to be there to be on the birth certificate, but there'll usually only be one registrar doing birth registrations on a day, and they'll have an hour appointment for each one. So they might only see 6 or 7 dads in a day. So that's the part where you really want to encourage professionals to attend your professionals training, get to their team meetings and provide them with the resources, flyers, posters, pull-up banners for their areas so that dads will still engage and have a touch point with Dad Matters there, even if you can't be there personally. And that's the same with all of those touch points. Pull-up banners, posters, flyers, particularly educational and informative flyers, not a flyer that says, if you're struggling, come to us. It's a flyer that says, here's how to get to know your baby. Here's how to do skin to skin. Here's how to console your baby when they're crying. Here's information about your mental health and supporting your partner. And here's where to get more information and more support from. That kind of resource is really important.
Kieran, Hazel's asked, will it only be Home Starts that can deliver it? So the quick answer to that is yes. Nick has asked, will there be examples of where and how other Home Starts have got funding so we could approach local funders to give real examples? Well, I would say, Nick, that the evaluation is probably a really good place to start. And there will be an ongoing discussion with the network as this develops alongside our work with 1001 Critical Days.
And I think we'd also like that to be a regular point of discussion on At Home in the managers' discussions and in the open discussions, so we can share that best practice.
Becca's asked a very good question. Does Dad Matters only work or work best if you have an existing perinatal mental health offer?
So not necessarily. It can work on its own. There are examples of Home Starts that don't have a perinatal mental health offer that deliver Dad Matters. But actually, for the Dad Matters coordinator, the supervision, the reflective practice, the training around perinatal and parent-infant mental health, all of that stems from what Home Start were doing in that perinatal period. So it's much better as part of a perinatal mental health offer. It doesn't mean that it has to be, but it absolutely should be if you can, definitely. What we would want is if there's a Home Start that doesn't have a perinatal mental health offer and they think that Dad Matters might be a good fit for their Home Start, maybe think about the perinatal offer as well alongside that Dad Matters offer. And maybe if we're looking at funding from local authorities, building that in to the funding bids that we're putting in as a joint bid. I know there's Home Starts out there that have done both of those things. So.
And I think, Stuart, your question was answered around that evaluation and that prior one. I think that's all the questions on the chat. Are there any other questions that anyone would like? We've got just under 10 minutes. If anyone would like to ask Kieran or myself another question.
Hazel said that a dad face in a different colour. There is a pure white logo. There's a white with orange logo. There's a black with orange. There's lots and lots on the suite. On the brand stencil, so please, have a look. They're all there. But yeah, absolutely, the white one looked great on Home Start colours. So if you've got a Home Start leaflet and you want to add Dad Matters to it, then that's a great place to do. If you've got a Dad Matters leaflet and you want to add Home Start to it, there should be colourways for all of those things for you to use. And then Catherine asked about suicide. Sorry, can I just answer that one? How big of an area of need has this been for Dad Matters? So it wasn't our first concern. Suicide prevention wasn't really what we were looking at. We are definitely a baby service, and we need to focus on the baby service part of what we do. But undoubtedly, suicide prevention is a part of that. We bring the baby into the conversation. We keep them central in the thought processes and the delivery of the model. But when we speak to dads who are struggling, we ask about suicide. So actually, one of the things that we've been developing more over the last couple of years is making sure coordinators have got that suicide prevention training, mental health first aid, and really making sure supervision is robust and supportive for coordinators who are thinking that too. So it is a growing area for us, and within the toolkit there will be a specific element of the kind of the training needs and supervision needs that we really want to get across for Home Starts.
Was that your question, Catherine? Were you coming back to that?
Yeah, brilliant. That's answered. Thanks.
No worries. Hazel, if you can't find them, if you just contact somebody at Home Start UK, they'll be able to point you at them. They are there. There's lots of different ways. Some of them are digital and some of them are for print, and there's some high res and some lower res, and there's some with transparent backgrounds, some with white backgrounds, lots of different ones. So on the images that I shared, we have Alex, who is a young dad who's 18, who is also trans. On the brand suite, there's a few universal images of black dads, and also Sal, who was on the images that I showed today, is a Bangladeshi dad who would identify as black. So we do have them on the brand suite, so have a good look. We do want more photo shoots, so we're hoping to do a photo shoot in Bradford and Blackburn to really identify some South Asian dads. We need more of those to be more representative. But if you have dads in your areas who would like to be on a photo shoot for Homestart to use, then get in touch with us. We have the opportunity to build some really good male-focused photographs. Absolutely get the point. We need to be more diverse in imaging. We need to represent dads so that dads can engage with us. But then within that, we also need to represent each group of dads within that too. So it's definitely useful.
A quick question from Shelley. Will the Homestart scheme get the training to train the professionals?
Yes. We're not sure exactly how it works. At the moment, I or one of the members of the Dad Matters team will deliver the professionals training, and a new coordinator will shadow that, then take the presentation away, localize it, and then go to deliver it themselves. Within the toolkit, we're probably looking at a kind of train for trainers type way of sharing that, whether that's self-led learning through the Learning Centre or whether it's face-to-face learning that I'll do regularly over a year, maybe 2 or 3 times over a year. We're not too sure, but there's a presentation there written already. All the evidence is there for it. All the interactive stuff's there, and that'll be built into the toolkit and the resources that local home starts can use.
Great. I think that's it. We can get a few minutes before anyone that's got to go into a next 11:30 meeting. Thank you so much, Kieran. Wonderfully coherent and clear as ever. If anyone does have any kind of particular questions or things, then please do reach out to Kieran. I'm sure he's very happy to answer questions. And do keep an eye out, I think, on the Dad Matters page, because that's really where we're going to be focusing the development and creating this kind of community of as we develop this project, and hopefully that it can reach more and more people. Kieran, I will leave it to you to end the session.
Yeah, thank you, everybody. It's really good that people are interested. You know, we know that dads are an important part of families that Homestarts want to support, and as we're learning more and more and more about how to do that, I'm really proud that something that I set up 9 years ago with 20 dads in a year has turned into 2,000 dads and 40,000 reached, and all of these Homestarts are really interested. And I'm not just pushing Dad Matters. I deliver training for independently for dads, so I talk about dads groups and dads sessions and dads work in general. So if anybody wants to talk about anything to do with dads, not just the Dad Matters project, I'm always happy to chat about that as well. And Dwayne, as you're new to Dad Matters, I need your email address and your phone number so we can get you added into all the groups and stuff so you can meet all the other guys. Fab, thank you very much, everybody, and we'll catch up soon.